Hi, this is Pete Lyons with Let's Play Salesforce. And in tonight's video, we're going to be talking about spoilers for the Winter 2 release as they pertain to the DataPrep platform. And with me is one of the new product owners for DataPrep, Gary. And I'm going to hand it off to him. He'll give his intro, and then we're going to dive into all of the awesome spoilers that we have for the upcoming release. Gary?
All right. Hello, everybody. My name is Gary Gong, and I am taking over for Tim as the product owner for DataPrep, and I am happy to be here to show you what's new in DataPrep for the winter release. So let's jump right in. Okay, so the first thing I wanted to talk about was direct data. We call it direct data, and basically it's a way for you to access your Salesforce objects without needing to configure a data sync for them first. And the way that it works is you go into this add input data modal. And under this dropdown here, there is going to be a new option called direct data. If you select it, I'm just going to select it and not include the other types of objects for clarity. If you select it here, you are going to see all the Salesforce objects available in your org. And you can select any one you want. They don't have to have a data sync configured for them. So let's just select one of them. Let's choose case status. And it's as easy as working with a data set or a connected object. You click next, and then it's available in your recipe. If I click on it, I can see the preview for it. And if you notice, there is going to be a filter tab here for you to add push-down filters. So there's only 4 records here, but you can imagine if there are a lot of records, you may not want to pull a large data volume into your recipe every time it runs. So this is a way for you to filter out what gets pulled. So let's say we only want to filter out is closed to be false. So now we're only pulling 3 as opposed to 4 records. So this is a way to optimize which records are pulled in when accessing a direct data set. So I think this is meant to be a quick and dirty way for you to access your Salesforce objects without committing to configuring a full data sync for them. Let me quickly switch to the other tab. So under the Connections tab, you can see, in fact, the object that we didn't, or that we accessed, in fact, does not have data sync configured for it. But yeah, this is a quick way. This is like a non-committal way for you to access your Salesforce objects before configuring data sync for them. Some cases where you might want to consider configuring data sync, or if it's a particularly large object, then you may want to consider configuring data sync for it. One additional thing. Yeah, go ahead.
I find a lot of times when I'm in the initial phases of development and I'm spamming out additional fields, while replication and data sync is best practice and will give you performance boosts over time. It's better for the platform. It's better for everybody. It can slow down rapid iterations where, I add a couple fields. It's got to run. I made this change. It's got to run. So a lot of times I'll turn it off during initial development stages and then flip it back on. So
yeah, for sure.
I guess my question is there a way to toggle once you've said, okay, I want this live? Can you then say, I changed my mind. I think I want this synced and vice versa?
Yeah, so it's as easy as just configuring a data sync object or configuring data sync for it in the connections page. So from here, you would just create a new connection or configure the objects and add case object or case status. And if you want to go vice versa, and if you wanted to disconnect an object that was previously synced, we can disconnect the object, then you would be accessing it then your recipes would be accessing it as a direct data set instead. So it should all happen seamlessly for you under the covers.
And also, is that the new data pipelines version of the connection page?
Oh, yes, it is. Yes, it is. This is the new data manager.
Am I spoiling your spoilers?
No, I would we like to give a quick tour of the data manager, the new data manager page?
Absolutely, because I have only seen pictures and GIFs of this. I have not laid eyes on it myself yet.
Yeah, I actually don't know that much about it. I can give a quick tour. So there's a job monitors page where you can see the status of your jobs and their types of data flow or files uploaded. And you can filter by succeeded, failed, which jobs have completed with the warning, which jobs are currently running, and which jobs are queued. And you can filter up here for entries that you're interested in. So let's say I'm looking for account jobs. And there are additional filter capabilities here.
Yeah, I definitely like that type filter.
Yeah.
A lot of times I need to, I'll have, maybe a lot of different, small external loads that are running, but I really just need to know how long did sales analytics take yesterday versus today, so I can see, is it being extra laggy or is that just how it runs?
For sure. Switch over to data pipelines. On the data assets page is where we can see our data sets.
And is the default behavior to click on a data set, is it going to be to explore the data set or to go to the edit page? Because currently we actually have that dual behavior paradigm where if I click on the data set name from TCRM Studio, it's going to explore the data set. But if I do it from the data manager, it's going to take me to the edit page. Right.
So if it looks like when you click on it right now, it doesn't take you anywhere, but let's look at the additional options. If you click on edit, then it will take you to the dataset page. And there is no way to explore it from here. Maybe that's something that we should add. And under the recipes tab, you see our list of recipes here, whether or not their last run succeeded and the next run is scheduled. Our usage shows some KPIs about the rows processed and output information.
So there's something that we wanted to see for a while, because while we can see the total rows in DataPrep, our total rows in all data sets, we have to do it from setup analytics getting started, which is kind of a counterintuitive place. If I'm at a point where I'm concerned about my data usage, I'm probably a little bit past getting started.
Yeah, this is super convenient to have it right here. Definitely makes sense to have it here.
Nice.
And then we were just looking at the connections page. And we were just looking at how to disconnect. So you can disconnect the object from here, run data sync for it. As well as from here, you can, what we were talking about before, configure additional data sync for objects here. Yeah, so that's a very quick whirlwind tour of the new data manager.
Yeah, and so my understanding is that this view has been available if you purchase Data Pipeline standalone, and that this new view will be for everyone as part of Winter 22. Is that accurate?
Yes, that is accurate. It should be available for everyone.
Cool.
All right. Now I forgot what we were talking about before. Oh yeah, we were looking at data sync and showing that case status was in fact not replicated. Oh. One additional thing that I wanted to show you was that if you had a connected object, so I selected connected object here, we will by default show you the fields that are replicated alongside the fields that are not replicated. So in this case, expected revenue, probability, system, mod, timestamp are not replicated. And then there's a tooltip here that says, oh, it may have been cut off by the window, but it says this field isn't synced. We'll add it to the data sync for you if you check this box. So you can choose to work with fields that are not replicated in a recipe, but then the next time you run it, we will modify that data sync config for you so that these fields will be added to that replication. So we try to make it as, oh, here we go. Some selected fields aren't part of the data sync. We'll add them to the data sync for you. So we'll try to make this as easy and as frictionless as possible to work with to make all your fields available for you. without needing to switch tabs, like going back and forth to configure data sync to make sure that they're available for use. We're trying to keep it all in a single flow. All right. Now, the next thing new that you might notice is this hide unused columns from preview button. So this is new in winter as well. So the preview data table shows you data for the preview, but then if you have too many columns, or if you're not actually working with all those columns in your data preview, it may make sense to limit what you see in the data preview just for your own sanity first, so that you're not like looking at a table that is maybe like hundreds of columns wide. But also it could affect performance, right? It does cost some in network transfer and data processing to transfer a wide table back and forth as well. So then we made it easier to choose which columns you may be interested in working with as part of the data preview. So in this case, since we added a filter on is closed column, we expect is closed to be the only column that remains after we hide unused columns. So what this does is that it looks through all the fields in the preview and searches the recipes for any references to these fields. And if there are references to those fields, then it will remain in the data preview. Otherwise, it will remove it from the data preview for you.
And does that like persist downstream? So when I get like 5-10 nodes down the line, if it's referenced anywhere throughout the chain that I'm going to see it, is that how that behavior works?
Yep, that's how it works. So let me try a slightly more complex example of, let's say we add a transform on master label. And then we hide unused columns. Then now we've determined that is closed and master label are used, and they're kept in the preview. Right. So that is one way to improve performance if your previews are taking a little bit longer. But then we added a toggle here for data preview. That is an even larger hammer. So what this does is it will turn off data previews for you completely. So that you can, if you're not interested in the preview and you just want to build transforms without needing to reference data previews, you can turn this off. And this has the effect of graying out the preview tab. And your primary interactions now are in the columns tab. So for example, if I wanted to, I don't know, add a transform here, lowercase created by ID, then all of my interactions with building the recipe are happening without generating a preview. And of course, I can at any time re-enable the preview, right? And then it'll be back for me whenever I'm ready to see the preview again.
Yeah, and as somebody who's, my ability to see my ETL or ELT has evolved with the product. In the early days, we had JSON only. Then we had a UI, but we would have to create debug register nodes to try and figure out what the heck does my data look like at this point in the process. So for me, I really like this idea of, I can flip the previews on and off, and I can choose whether or not I want to get fast performance or actually try and see. So wait, which columns are what where now, and does this actually join anything? That sort of stuff. And having that, just anywhere that you give me more options to control my experience, I'm always happy to see those. Yeah,
for sure. Yeah, sometimes you may not be interested in looking at a data preview and like exactly what you're going to do. You want to add these transforms and you just want to do those in like 1, 2, 3, bam, bam, boom, and other times you may want to look at the data preview. So you have the option of doing it here by turning on and off this toggle. All right, the next thing that we added was the ability to select multiple nodes, right, by brushing the canvas. So I'm clicking and dragging the canvas right now, and I am selecting multiple nodes. So for example, I could select these 2 nodes I added right here. And if I hit delete, I can delete them. And we will be adding more options or more actions for interacting with these multiple nodes, like being able to move them in one spot or being able to edit properties for them at a time in the future.
Do you anticipate like a copy paste?
Yeah, that's something that we're looking into as well.
Yeah, because my use case is, what if I need 5 versions of the same node that do something slightly different? And again, a lot of times people push back on my janky transposition strategies as, not scalable or too niche. But one excellent example where you might actually need 12 nearly identical compute expressions that all end up getting appended together is, what if you're deciding that you're working with sales analytics, you don't want to use a flat file to maintain your quotas, you'd rather it be a Salesforce object, and you don't have a concept of seasonality. So you're just going to create one row per user per year with their annual sales goal, and then you're going to have a data flow break that into monthly rows. So you now have 12 transformations that are identical. In the data flow world, what you got to do is you set up one, then you go into your JSON, and I mean, I do it with Excel, but at a basic level, you would copy that out 12 times and then just increment the variables as you go to have those 12 nodes. So, that's a less Pete and more what everybody, is more likely to encounter kind of use case where there's definitely value for cloning nodes out. And when you start talking about joins, I could see how that might get a little ugly. But cloning out filters as well, if I want to segment my data differently, I could see why I might want to do those kind of copy pastes.
Yeah, for sure. Selecting multiple nodes to duplicate them definitely feels natural, and it's definitely something we're going to look into in the future.
Agreed. I like it.
All right, let's see, what else is there?
Or select 10 nodes and make them all the source of an append.
Yes, definitely. There's so many options that are available to you once you introduce the ability to select multiple nodes. All right, so the next thing is we added a whole bunch of keyboard shortcuts. So under help here, there is a drop-down menu. If you select keyboard shortcuts, we will show you a cheat sheet of the keyboard shortcuts that we added. So in the last release, we added undo redo. I think you've seen undo redo before, but then we expanded upon that by adding shortcuts for searching, as well as accessing a lot of the buttons in the toolbar, as well as the ability to use the keyboard to navigate around the graph. So instead of just reading these out to you, I think it's better just to show you what they're like. So if I hit Command F here, then that brings up the search, and I can search for a node here. And if I go to it, it'll take me to data flows. All of these buttons are accessible with the keyboard shortcut. So if we hit Command O, it will open the add input data model. You're already familiar with undo redo, Control Z, Control Y. Data preview is toggleable using Control or Command D, like that. The version history is openable, toggleable using Command V. You can save with Command S. I'm not going to save right now. Do a quick check. So that covers all of that. And for navigating the graph.
And how does that behave with browser shortcuts? Because, for example, when we got the Spring 19, I believe, we got a new JSON editor, and you would have to, I used to have this shortcut, Control ecrov, which basically you edit the dashboard, copy the code, and then reload the page and paste it in. It was my way of, if I had unsaved changes to a dashboard, but I had refreshed or I had run my data flow because I'm adding a column or whatever, and I wanted to be able to not save my changes to the code, but reload the dashboard, see the new data. It was Control EACR EAV, was like the keyboard shortcut, but it broke because you would have to click into the JSON. And we still see that behavior with Control F in the advanced editor, although it has been corrected in the dashboard designer. So do you have to, like, if you reload this page, do you have to click on it somewhere before it starts overriding browser shortcuts? Or, you know, like if you just load the page and you hit Control D, is it going to try to bookmark?
Oh yeah, let's try. I believe that you have to click inside the graph in order to activate the shortcut. So if I hit Command, oh no. So I just hit Command F without clicking on anything, and it's already registered.
And there's probably some nerdy technical term for that distinction that I am not familiar with, where it recognizes that your focus is within the browser and not, you know, global.
I believe the focus is already in the tool when you reload the page.
Nice. That is the preferred option.
Okay. All right. So for navigating the graph, we added a whole bunch of keyboard shortcuts there as well. And if you notice this slightly light, like this light blue outline around the node, that indicates that it's the currently active node. So I can use the up and down arrows to change the active node, up and down. And if I hit the right button, it will go to the node's direct source. So in this case, it will go to join. In this case, I'll go to append. In this case, I'll go to filter. But if a node has more than one output, for example, this join, it will go to the nearest one to it. So this will go to append instead of filter. So if I moved filter, oops, sorry. If I moved filter down, then if I hit right again, it will go to filter. So right will go to the node's outgoing node, but the closest one to it. Let me move this back. Right. Oops, sorry.
I love the persistent layouts, and I know it's not new, but it never gets old.
Now, there are additional shortcuts. I can hit Shift-C to focus a connector and to rotate between a node's outgoing connector. And from here, I can open the Add Node menu. And I can add a node in between, or add this in between these two nodes, like that.
So for those times when my fancy wireless mouse decides that the fancy lighting has chewed up too much battery and it dies on me again, I'm not dead in the water until I go and grab my backup mouse. I can do everything with just the keyboard.
Yes, the goal is everything that you can do with a mouse, you can do with a keyboard now. And I can hit Command or Shift B to open the branch menu and to create a new branch from here as well. So this created this new branch here. And just let me double check that I covered everything. And I did. All right, so that's keyboard shortcuts. I think it's super useful. It'll definitely shorten the amount of time that you use interacting with the mouse if you learn the right keyboard shortcuts to accomplish certain tasks, for sure.
Yeah, and a lot of them are so like natural and ubiquitous that like I do find myself trying to use them periodically where they're just totally not appropriate. Specifically, like, you know, undo, redo, and find. I will oftentimes, and I also have this thing where I go into the grocery store and I'm looking for something on the shelf and I kind of feel like my left hand tilts a little bit because I'm reaching for the Control F, but it doesn't work like that in life.
And you can always go to the cheat sheet in case you don't know what a keyboard shortcut is.
Yeah, I do it with restaurant menus too. And then I'm like, you know, why can't that magical twist of the wrist actually find the item I'm looking for? No.
Oh, I forgot the most important keyboard shortcut, bringing up the cheat sheet itself. Command slash.
But see, now you've done it because if I can't remember that one, you know, I've effectively locked my keys in the car. No, that's really good stuff.
The next thing is filter logic. So under the filter node, we've added the ability to add filter logic. So you may have seen this already in other parts of analytics, like reports, where you can specify filter logic. This is kind of a boring one with just one, so let's add more filters here. Oh, sure.
Oh, it's null for all.
Yeah. All right. So then if I click this edit icon, I can have any custom Boolean expression here. So this is super useful for if you wanted more than just and for your filters. Now they can be anything you'd like. They can be ors, or even more complicated than that. They can be not.
And maybe this already exists and I'm just not aware of it,
Right.
but do we have a fallback where we can build out like really complex like field-to-field comparison kind of logic? Or is it still similar to the current paradigm of data flows where first we would have to create a calculated field that just returns a value and then filter on that value?
Yeah, I think it's still the current paradigm.
Yeah, and that actually came up recently. Somebody asked in one of the comments if how do you do a field-to-field filter? And I thought to myself, it's interesting because that did get added to, and they were talking about at the dashboard level. And
Yeah.
I'm like, well, that did get added to standard reporting a few releases ago. And I thought, how many formula fields have I had to create to solve for that problem? So
Yeah. Field to field, yeah, for sure.
yeah, maybe one of these days. I know
Not today.
it works SACL post projection. I'm not positive if it'll work pre-projection, but my recommendation was
Right.
calculate a field in the data flow, and then just you got a checkbox that says true or false.
And if I wanted to change them all back to ands, just remove the filter logic. So there you go. Cool. Changes. Let's see, what else? What else? Under bucketing, there is a new thing called smart bucketing now, where it will try to do a fuzzy match for this bucket. So let's say I want to group all successes under the label good. There are no examples here since all the values for success are in title case. But in this, if there were a case where success were all lowercase, that would also match this bucket. And that would also get grouped into the good bucket.
Where this is where you're really going to see the rubber hit the road on this one is address data states. Now I get that it might not be able to do NY versus New York, but uppercase and lowercase with or without punctuations, that kind of those kind of scenarios, I mean, that's going to get you 90% of the way there. And I've got reusable code I call the state scrubber for trying to clean up bad data in just the state field, and it's just such an exhaustive process. And if you want to find dirty data, look in address fields. It will be there.
Yeah, this is a super useful feature for sure. Right. And the last thing I wanted to show was improvements to validation. So let's do something like
The years of my life spamming the refresh button, waiting to find out I forgot a comma or a single quote.
So I deleted a node, which resulted in a broken flow. And now it tells me exactly where the error is. So now it says connect this node to the incoming branch or an input node. So it's saying that this node is missing an input. Also, we created a consolidated list of all the errors here. So this, if you click on this icon, this will show a list of all the errors in your recipe. And if you click on one of them, it'll take you to the node so that you can fix the error associated with that. Now, let's try to create a more complex error, like maybe like this join. This join is using data flow name. So let's say we drop data flow name from the recipe. Then it will show up as an error in the join. Right? And it'll say this join is missing its join key. And you need to go back to fix it. Right? So I think this is a huge step forward in working with error validation errors in your recipe.
And I'm assuming the usual list of suspects includes an inconsistent number of join keys between left and right source.
Yeah, even data types as well.
Yeah.
So if we change
Inconsistent.
this data type,
yeah. Or like
then
inconsistent
it'll show us
columns
an error.
inconsistent columns in an append if you do not have disjointed schema enabled, or what about field level security versus the integration user on digest?
Oh, that's a good one. I don't know that. I'd have to check on that one.
Usually you only see it when somebody breaks something, either like delete a field or access to a field that you previously had gets rolled back. Usually you can't get to the point where that's going to throw an error, unless, I mean, if you straight up upload the JSON. Now, will it allow you to save without errors and just not run, or will it block the save?
Oh no, you can save. You can save for errors. This recipe has one error that will prevent it from running successfully. Do you want to continue or save the recipe? So you can choose to save.
That's really useful, because sometimes I do like to go to bed and save the problem for tomorrow.
For sure. It just won't run. It just won't run. It's fine. And as always, you can always revert back to a previous version. I think you've seen this before.
Yep.
All right, but I think the validation is going to make a lot of people's lives a lot easier. It'll show them where the error is and how to fix the error. All right, that wraps it up for that's all that I have to show for today. Great. I hope you liked what you saw.
Oh, definitely. Like a lot of, people always are like, hey, why aren't we chasing the big targets when we have this, and we're doing all of this quality of life stuff? Because I got to tell you, if the quality of life stuff isn't there, nobody's going to use it. Nobody's going to want those bigger targets. And just, people may sweep validation and keyboard shortcuts under the rug. It's like, well, why is that a priority? Well, the keyboard shortcuts allow me to do my job faster, which means that I can do my job for a lower price point. I can deliver faster. I can, it's all around a good thing. Like I harass my junior developers when I am first training them, and I tell them, when you want to use a field in a compute expression, you should go to the output field panel, click on it, and Control-C to copy, because then you will never have a typo and it's far faster than typing. And I'll wait for them to, and even after I drove this lesson home, I'll wait for them to type the field name out, and then I'll make them delete it and do it the right way. And that's the kind of nitpicking you get in your first 6 weeks working with Pete. And it's because I've seen the years off of my life that have been returned to me by mastering keyboard shortcuts. And similarly, the development downtime of waiting for a data flow to get 45 minutes, an hour, 3 hours into a run before a simple typo could have been caught. These kind of time-saving improvements, quality of life improvements, they can dramatically accelerate the development cycle, especially when they compound upon each other. And I'm also really glad to see continued improvements in smarter transformations such as fuzzy matching and all the great stuff that we're seeing in the what are we calling that thing? Data pipelines.
Yes. And yeah, you have more control over data previews now as well.
Yep. So really great stuff. Glad to have you as a new product owner. Thank you for coming out to the channel.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, definitely. And for the folks at home, if you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, tell a friend, and as always, thanks for watching.